one.
Thank you.
All right. Mark Doyle from the Board of Education, and Ken Folan, the retired politician, the voice of Dear Windham, Connecticut.
It's the voice of Windham, and I know, listeners, you're happy and excited and thrilled that I'm here tonight on Third Thursday, honoring you with my voice.
There you go. Well, hey, come on down and visit Third Thursday. It's a great event down there. But, hey, listen to us for about an hour at first. So
On your way down. You can
Well, at least
to us.
listen to me.
So last week we Jeff and I were talking. We got quite a few phone calls in and talking about the taxes that went up. You know that Windham needed money to spread around like wildfire.
We got to pay for all the curbing that's been damaged over the winters. That's part of the
but
problem.
I see businesses. Some businesses either stayed the same or some went down. I can sit there and say that. Even the lodge that I belong to went down about a little bit underneath $3,000 that they went down. I covered part of that with my $1,100 that I went up. You know, my next door neighbors around the area, some of them were telling me $1,600, over $2,000. It just was a lot. And
yeah,
happened
I
in
went
1
2000.
year.
I went up in 2000.
Yep.
Well, so I went up $1,650.
There you go.
And I was happy to pay that.
Well, I paid mine.
Oh, yeah,
I
mine's
paid mine right away.
Mine was done the next
I
day.
figured if they
so
had
it's
to
my
go up this much,
civic
they
duty.
needed the money right away. So I went in and paid it.
Yep. So I expect services to be done the next day. Like, you know, I don't want to get into it, but
Yeah. Yeah.
there's an expectation that once you pay for something, services happen as quick. As Buddy Cianci from Providence would say, look out your window, there's a truck out there. And there'd be action taken.
There's
But anyway,
action.
so let's talk about the increase. Right? Commercial buildings, as we know, pretty much went down. Residentials went through the roof, but that's
Well-
okay. When you die, you now have legacy to leave to your children because that's when you're going to make your money on your house for you folks who've owned it. and
Well,
paid
don't
for
forget, though, when the kids go sell it for you while you're
Yes.
gone,
Yeah.
they then have to pay taxes on top of that.
it. Right. Well, you know,
Okay, we'll
we don't
get you
mind
one way or another
We
here.
don't mind double dipping here
You
in
know.
Connecticut.
But
But that's been the excuse. That's what I've heard. Oh, you'll get it when you sell it. Well, where are you moving to, folks?
Rhode Island.
Well, I am. That's your business. But, you know, I also heard from a member of the Board of Finance, this is, you know, Chuck Pennywell, great guy, very strong conservative, questioned the budgets, I'm sure, in front of him, and he said, Ken, the reason for the tax increase that was so large was because of Mark Doyle and the Board of Ed. So we brought Mark Doyle in.
And we brought Mark Doyle in
And here
because
I
I was told that this morning by Ken, and I said, you get him in here. I want him to answer why my taxes went up.
Well, first, I need to find out why my taxes went up. According to Mr. Pennywell, who is an esteemed member of the Board of Finance, and other members of the Board of Finance, the town budget did not go up. They, in fact, have increased spending 8.5%, but they claim no tax increase because they used reserve money they found somewhere to offset their 8.5% tax increase.
This is all on the town side.
This is on the town
Because
side.
The Board of Ed has their own little
The Board of Ed side, we went up 3.8%, which essentially, as I've pointed out a couple times on Facebook, came out to be 1.8 million. Our budget went up. But if you look at the tax increase, Tom, if you start doing the numbers, you realize that my taxes went up 2,000 yours, and Ken's went, well, you went up 1,000, Ken went up around 1,600. So even if you use 1,000 as the average tax increase times 5,000 properties, that's a lot more money than we've.
Yeah, I told everybody last week, I found out by sitting there and looking at the Facebook page, Willimantic Facebook page, and seeing all these people that were irate about their taxes going up. I did see some comments in some of the other ones that you made, Mark, that you believe or there's a chance that we could be taking in more money than we're actually spending.
Well, mathematically, we have to be. I mean, the Board of Ed budget went up 1.8. 5,000 homes times 500 is $2 million. So that over the increase of the Board of Ed budget, and that's if you average 500 per properties, per the 5,000 properties. I'm thinking, given the numbers we heard in here, you're probably close to 1,000. So that's what, 5 million? Well, where's this extra money going? I mean, granted, our values went up, but as you know, Tom, you served on the Board of Finance. The property valuations go up, but the mill rate should come down because you still
I believe that
you
they
still only
didn't-
need 10,000 or
I
whatever.
believe they didn't bring. I think somebody made a mistake. I shouldn't say somebody. The board made a mistake, and I don't know where they were getting their information from. And he either had to be the town manager or finance director at the time, and the mill rate was set too high.
Yeah.
There's no doubt in my mind the mill rate was set too high. I mean, if you anticipated maybe 2, 3, and trust me, I appreciate the fact that values are up and down homes. I think that's great for the town, for the grand list, for the future. But you could swallow $200, $300, $400 increases. We've had those along the way on some pretty bad years. But Mark is being kind when he says $1,000. It's I'm hearing more. You're looking at more like $1,500 per residential home on average. The increase has been, and that's a lot for a homeowner. And here's what I've been saying, and I've been saying this to Mark and the guys that meet, on a Friday. You're looking at these increases now. If you have your home and it's paid off, you got hit with this
Right now.
You got hit with it now, and you're seeing that for the first time, and you're going, what? Because some people are retired and they budgeted that much money out of their monthly retirement to pay for these taxes, and you're looking at that, so now you're in total shock, and you could tell that by 170 comments on just one guy's questions about it, and then you got the folks who are going to be hit in September when their banks, if you have a mortgage and do it in escrow, they're going to see the bank say, hey, you have a shortfall of XYZ dollars. Your new monthly payment is $250 more a month. And that's not included in what everyone I think has faced is an increase in the property insurance. Okay? Property insurance that most people, has gone up about $200 to $300 a year. So we're talking a $300 hit maybe to some of the families who are struggling and paying their mortgages. Then what happens at some point, I'm not Jeff Vians with property, but at some point, that's going to be passed along to the renters in town. And then what? You got an exasperated situation right now between just general inflation on food, energy, and rentals to begin with. It's all inflated. But to then hit these people with a $200, $300 additional, we used to joke about it only went up a pizza a week, This isn't a pizza a week for some of these families, and I feel for this community.
There's no middle class worker that received a wage increase in their check to cover a $1,500 bill.
No.
Nobody. So now you're behind the eight ball there, and you're right. You're behind the eight ball on gasoline, food, the rental's going up. But you're absolutely right. I would say September, October, and I've told most of the politicians, you're getting phone calls now. Okay, and your phone's ringing off. You haven't even got most people that have mortgages, they pay it within their banks. And when they ever get that statement, my biggest problem here is, and again, I got it more with the elected officials. Not one of them that I talked to ever saw this type of an increase coming. Not one of them. Which tells me that not one of them did their homework to figure out what they were passing, what was the effect going to happen on the homeowner.
And I'm going to tag on that, Tom, because I don't think I've ever seen a town council. I know Bill Sayers really did do his homework. I know probably your sister likely did. But the people on the town council took a 6% increase request from the town manager, didn't chop, and added almost 2% to the ask, and no one questioned it.
Yeah.
On the council or the
and that's where my issue is, because when I again, I've talked to people on both the council and board of finance, and every answer I had was, okay, your house value went up, and I said, okay, but that should even out, and I understand businesses went down some, so even if a business went down $3,000, $5,000, that's not going to make for this increase.
Right.
That we all got. So either something happened here, which is mill rate was set too high, and there's a lot more money coming into the town than what they need. And if that's true, how are you going to fix this? Okay? Or there's a lot more spending going on than officials thought there was.
Just never mind the Board of Ed, we'll get to that, but 8% increase in spending on the town council side, but negated by extra monies they found? I don't understand.
Yeah, and I've talked to Tyler. I did not, when I asked him, because Chuck had said that he thought some of this was negated by some other money, I was told that they didn't take any money from anywhere to offset anything. So I don't know where the truth of that lies. Maybe I could get Tyler on the show one time to explain it.
That would explain part of it, because when they pre-budget vote, it was put out there that there was no tax increase from the town. But if they opted not to use those reserve funds at the last minute and then went ahead and that's 8.5%. That's a lot of where some of this extra money may have come. That's why I've advocated that we need the town to come forth and show me what the total income. What do they expect to get from this increase?
Yeah, we have a caller. Go ahead, caller.
All right, gentlemen, I just want to thank you for bringing this to light, what you guys are conversating about today. I think everybody here in Wyndham and in Willimantic is shocked by how the taxes went up. Some say they went down. I don't. Mine definitely did not go down. And I guess it's all in numbers. It's a numbers game. You know, the mill rate goes up and the valuation goes down, or the eval goes up and the mill rate goes down. But just want to tell all the people in Wyndham and Willimantic, got to get out and vote, because if we get a good voter turnout, stuff like this won't happen. If it's not feasible for people, then they vote to pass the budget, or they don't pass the budget.
Yeah, and I think you're right on that one issue about get the vote out. That the problem is if the town and the politicians don't get exactly what is happening, and they make people believe that there's not a big tax increase, that it's going to pretty much be a whitewash, and that's what was put out there. People said, okay, they believed them. And I'm one of them. They believed them, and people passed the budgets. You didn't have many people that voted. I can tell you right now, if it was put out that your tax bill was going to go up $800, $1,000, $1,500, this thing would have went down big time. They played the game, and again, I'm going to say that either the town staff wasn't completely upfront in what this was going to be to the politicians, and they were led to believe that there wasn't going to be a big increase, and they came out and told people that, or either the politicians played the other side and just didn't do their homework and do their jobs. It could be a little bit of both.
Well, these are people who are elected, so keep that in mind. For the newcomer that's running, if it's time to get somebody new in there, so be it. But the Kool-Aid was sweet, but it will not be sweet. And the gentleman mentioned earlier, some people have properties which they rent out. Now they have to pass this additional cost on to their renters. So let's say it's $200-300. You pass that, divide that by 12 months. That's going to be the damage. Rents are already high. You know, Willimantic now has a fair rent commission. But how do you tell the owner of the property that he's got to eat, that he can't pass it on to the tenants? It's something has to be done. But I think it's time to drain the swamp and get out and vote. And if we have to cut, so be it. We cut. You got to live within your means.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
The only problem with what he just stated was, and again, I said this last week, they're not running this November.
No.
They're not running this November.
But
They run a year from now. And I'll guarantee you, because there's no way you're going to be able to fix this at this point. The taxes are what they are. And if there's extra money, let's just say, Mark, you're right, that they're taking in too much money. All they're going to do is say, well, we did find it, and so next year we don't need a tax increase.
Yeah, well,
then all of a sudden, all the politicians look like they're heroes, right? Because I always say people have short-term memories.
Well,
over
it was
this
like the
stuff.
COVID money. The local politicians and the state politicians look like heroes temporarily. Go ask Enfield, go ask Hartford, go ask New Haven, go ask Wyndham. Do they feel like heroes now when there's no more COVID money, and now they're pulling back and pulling back and pulling back? Look at the layoffs that are there, and just in the education field. And this is what's going to happen here. They could say no increases in taxes next year. They might even say, hey, we can reduce your taxes by 2%. 2% of a $1,650 increase is nothing.
Yeah.
And so I don't think people are going to forget. The gentleman who called is absolutely right. The problem is none of us, I mean, I had predicted with the group that I hang out that this was going to happen with these taxes. I'm on the record with 5 of them. And I said they're going to, and because I kept being told, oh, it's not going to be a big tax increase, it's going to be $220. I said, there's no way if my reval went up $120K that they're going to be able to bury that. They can reduce the pain a little bit, and I thought they would have reduced it a lot more, but not that. to where it landed. But like I said, that's
But
water
I,
under the
but
bridge.
I also, but I sit there and say that, okay, your valuation went up 150, say.
Yeah,
Okay? Your mill rate's dropping.
it should. Yeah.
Okay,
Enough
so
where
there
it doesn't
should be, I'm not
mitigate-
saying
it
it's a
should mitigate it.
complete whitewash, but there, a lot of that should have been wiped out. So because the businesses taxes went down, the homeowner is going to eat that and make that up.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no way that you're not talking, $2-3 million worth of money that came down on the businesses here. So to me, I still think either they set the mill rate too high without understanding exactly what they did. And again, I'm going to say this, Ken, you were on the Board of Finance. We always took property in Willimantic and Wyndham before we did anything, and we got a worksheet that sat there and said, if we pass this, this is what the taxes are going to be.
The impact of the tax.
And it was the only way that anybody on a board was going to be able to sit there and say, okay, now I understand what we're doing. So either, yeah, that's okay, or we need to cut a little bit more, or it could have gone the other way. We could have raised a little bit more. None of them did that. And the excuse I get was when we asked for it, there was, let's say, 50 homes that were going in and fighting the revals. Okay? Well, even if there was 100 homes that went in to fight the revals, it wasn't going to do this much of a difference.
No.
That no way. And you can't tell me that the staff in the town hall and the finance department couldn't have figured. They could have sat there and said, okay, here's a ballpark figure, boom. They didn't even get that. And the chairman of the Board of Finance and the rest of them should have demanded to see that, because it's the only way you could physically, and it's the only way to get it out to the public.
It's a question
so
I
that they
asked.
know what it is.
Because of my experience with you on the Board of Finance, no one said they ever saw that example of the impact. Okay, and I kept thinking to myself, because it used to be 150,000, they said 200,000, because there weren't at that point many
Right.
20,000 homes, and
I didn't see anything anywhere.
Nothing.
And again, maybe the paper had something.
No.
I still get it. I didn't see it. I went back to try to but I couldn't find it. I didn't see anything where any politician on Facebook was putting out. I didn't see the town got a Facebook page, got a website. I didn't see nothing coming out of there.
Well, it should be easy enough at this point. They've done it. It's a mathematical problem now. The Board of Finance should be able to tell me they anticipate raising $10 million this year because of what the total they've taxed me, and our budgets only went up 12 million, went up 8 million, whatever. So we know that. So we know if we got overtaxed, and we know that there should be a refund come back or a rollback of the taxes. It really shouldn't be that complicated. They try and make it. You're right. They throw in the business. Well, the businesses went down. Well, they didn't go down that much.
They had gone up years past too.
And look,
took their
I
hit.
get it.
They took
They
their hit.
the last three revals that I can remember,
Yeah.
houses went down
Yeah.
and businesses went up.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
I mean, this is turning, but it wasn't such an effect that these people were dropping tens of thousands of dollars off
Right.
their taxes. Okay, there's something happened here where either information just didn't get out, or if it did get out, somebody played a shell game so people didn't understand what was going on here.
For me, I'm not going to beat a dead horse. I really want to get into some of what Mark has on,
Yeah.
on the new schools and other things that are going on at the Board of Ed. But reality of it is, the elected officials on the council and the Board of Education, in my opinion, they sat there, they submitted these budgets. Again, the council had saw the need to increase even more spending in it on top of what the town manager proposed, but no one even questioned the increases.
Well, part of the increase on top of the town manager, I believe, was they took the entire ambulance and
Ambulance
the
call center.
the center, 911 center, and put that all completely
Right,
underneath
right.
the town budget, which I'm okay doing. It's one department. It's really underneath
Yeah,
the town
yeah.
of Wyndham instead of hitting so much over to the service district. So I'm okay with. But again, that one piece does not even come close to what this. What I just
and
can't.
you didn't increase taxes. You just moved.
You just moved a line
who's paying
item
it.
over.
So the bottom line is still the same.
Yeah.
Because you just moved the line item over who's paying for that.
So I
that
mean,
center.
it moved some taxes out of my first taxing
Right.
district and moved it into the town. But I just it's beating a dead horse.
It is, yeah.
But I'm upset because every time you ask the question of somebody that's in the know, it's, well, your house has gone up. You're going to feel that whenever you sell the house and everything else, and it's not a good enough excuse. I think the town council and board of finance should have an open meeting, have the board of finance director there with the town manager, and explain how much money is coming in and how much money they're actually spending. The raises,
Right.
I mean, you talk about every year we looked at, the first thing was contractual
Yeah,
raises
yeah.
within the school, contractual raises within the town. We knew what that was. That was never a mill increase.
No.
That was around $500,000 in that area or lower. Okay, so I mean, we're talking a lot of money here.
Yeah. I'm gonna, like I said, we'll move to the next topic. But I talked to Councilman Sayers, and he said he is going to raise that question that Mark has brought up, and call for some, conversations in black and white paperwork to see how much we actually take in, and how much the budget actually went up.
Yeah.
And see where that math leads us.
So the next discussion we want to.
Well, just finally, you talk about making this money up when you sell your house, but when people come in to look to buy the house, they're going to look at how much money we're paying in taxes. My taxes went from 50%. My tax increase was a 50% tax increase.
I will say this about the town of Wyndham. Okay,
Still a deal.
It's still a deal
I say the same
within
thing.
the state. I'm not
Yep.
that, but again, the property values out here, and when you try to do this, and you're going to up people's taxes this much, no one can afford $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 increase in 1 year. If this is what it was, they could have done something where this was in effect over a 2 or 3 year period.
Exactly.
You can't hit people this hard, okay? And especially in the economy that you're in right now, where all the prices are up. Until things settle back down, it's just way too much, and everybody's crying about the rental. You hear
feel
it,
for these
of
people.
mobile home
Yeah.
parks, everything else, and all about what in the world did the town think that this was going to help? That's not going to help.
It's going to
that
kill
process.
the local business economy once.
Right.
Like once the people who have mortgages get it, because they're living a dream right now. Their mortgage hasn't gone up yet. They're going to enjoy summer. They're in for a rude awakening if they don't.
Yeah. Hey, we're going
knowledgeable.
to be going on break, and when we get right back from the break, we're going to talk about schools and whether or not some of them will close and what the plan is from there, because we've got the person that knows what's going on. Welcome back to the Republic Forum. All right, we're going to get right into all the stuff that I've seen on Facebook again with possible closing of schools. One's been named as Wyndham Center. Mark, do you have any news about how this was developed? And I'm sure you guys have been looking at this for a good year or two.
Yes, the conversation around consolidating or closing a school has been going on for over 2 years. It's always surprising when people say they didn't know about it. We've made several presentations to the Board of Selectmen, several presentations to the Board of Finance, obviously our presentations. Right now, the status is that the Board of Ed has voted that we plan to close Wyndham Center School at the end of next school year. And
So
at
that'll be end of 25.
25, right.
Okay.
And we also plan at that same time, we're going to move the fifth graders back into the middle school where they were, where the school was designed to hold the fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth. So we're going to move the fifth graders back in there. So it will, and at that same time,
What was the reasoning? Because they were there for a while.
right.
And there's been some talk on,
Yep.
on some people spreading different things, that it was the, I forgot what his name was.
Adamowski.
Right. There, King Adamowski.
Had nothing to do with
It had nothing to do with him. There was a decision made by the board and superintendent to move the kids out of the middle school at one point, right?
I was not on the board at that time, but yes, there was a decision made to move them out. The only justification I've heard for it is they felt that the fifth graders were getting a decline on their state tests. And they thought maybe it was the moving from fourth to fifth in the middle school was hurting their test results. Historically, that first grade of middle school always sees a decrease in their state test. I mean, when it was just back in the old Kramer, when it was 6th, 7th, and 8th, the sixth graders saw a decline from when they came out of the grade school. But back when we proposed and we built the middle school, I was on the board then. What people forget is that we told you then that the current building wasn't set up properly for a modern day middle school. It was landlocked. It was 3 floors, or down in the basement, 4 floors actually, and that we needed room to grow and we needed room to change. So that's when we moved, and also we had a problem at the grade school levels at that point, where the grade schools were getting overcrowded because of the 5th grade, and that's another reason why we moved the 5th grade into.
Wasn't that at the time frame too that we had to close down Natchog School?
That seemed to be a
because of the roof?
coincidence. That seemed to be a coincidence. Well, the roof got the roof's another issue. Ken and I were both involved with the roof when we were on the Board of Ed.
Oh.
I stood on that roof.
We met with
The
the.
chairman did that before.
It was a windsock that went wrong. It didn't work.
I have so much things to say on that, but I'll let it go.
Right. It was a windsock, and we just couldn't tell which way it was going. But there was a discussion back then with the town engineer, and the decision was made. We knew we had some leaks in the roof, and the decision was made, well, you can't do anything to the leaks because you've got 2 more years left of your 20 years to get recoup the full
Right.
state reimbursement, and you just need to patch it. Then I know the board got back involved with that and said, well, wait a minute, we can do something during the Christmas break, which we did, and we kept the middle school kids out for a short period of time, and then we redid the capping, or I forgot what exactly.
Yeah, we had Larry Mooney actually did all the masonry work
Yeah.
to fix it, and we were able to salvage it for a while.
To stop the leaks.
To stop.
So it wasn't. So yes, then what happens? And again, I was off the board when it happened. Something happened. I guess there was more leaks at Natchog, and they decided to move the entire school. And at that point, because
That's when
they moved,
the 5th grade that I remember
Right.
went over to the middle school, because you had taken the other kids and put them out in the other
Right.
elementary
and then
schools.
when Natchog had the problems, that coincided with moving the 5th grade out of the middle school. They moved the entire Natchog school into the 5th grade wing at the middle school for that year, while they did their work on the Natchog school.
Mark, let me. So a lot of things happen due to the age of that Natchog building and the shuffling the kids and this and everything else. You had to do what you had to do. So now the decision has been made to close Wyndham Center School, right?
Correct.
Fall of 2025, it'll be done.
What is the reason that school was picked over some of the other ones?
Right now, the main reason that school was picked is the smallest population. They have a population of just over 200. Hand in hand, or glove in hand with that, we are also, matter of fact, I have to go to a meeting right after this, we're also discussing the possibility of closing the other grade schools and then having one grade school. And so we would close all 4, or the other 3 grade schools, if you will, and have all the kids K through 4 in one location. We may do it in a 2-building scenario where you'd have K through 2 in one building and 3 and 4 in the next building, or I may do it in a 1-building situation. But we're looking at closing the 4 schools, and we're looking at that because we have a declining population. The numbers are going down. Wyndham Center, as I said, it's a wonderful school, but it's got a population of around 200. And one of the things we're looking at as a board is trying to support those kids. I'm sure you can relate to the fact that I need to have a nurse in every school. I need to have a social worker in every school. I need to have counselors, as well as the teaching staff. But if I have to spread that out, then I don't have. I lose economy there. If I put them into one location, I can now have maybe just 2 nurses instead of 4. I can now have maybe 2 social workers instead of the 4. We can now bring back some of the programs that we've gotten rid of over the years in terms of our gifted and talented and some of our other special programs that we could bring back. It will allow us to concentrate our resources so that we can better serve the kids that we have left in the system. Not to mention, the other thing you're looking at, as Ken said, the other buildings we have are old buildings.
There's
you're
going to
cut
be
a
a
lot.
choice. There's going to be a choice at some point that you're going to have to remodel those buildings.
Correct.
Versus, and to me, it's the same thing with the high school as far as I was concerned. It costs more to remodel than it does to build. The biggest thing would be, what do you do with the other properties? I mean, you guys would turn it back over to the town because
Correct.
it goes back to the town.
Right.
I would hope that, Wyndham Center, looking at something to do with fire departments. I mean, there's a whole area they could do where the Wyndham Center School is at that point for that.
So there's a rumor out there that you're looking to move the program that's out in North Wyndham, the alternative school, to Wyndham Center.
Correct.
School.
That's we have
Cut out an external rent.
we have a program.
But then you
which-
got to keep that building completely open. You got to have workers in it. Does that save money?
What will save money is on the rent. We're paying rent now to an outside landlord and if we move that program into one of the existing school buildings, we save the money on the rent for the outside. Same program cost because you're going to use the same teachers and a program to run that out of it's a much smaller program. I would hope that after the 2 years or more of notification that we've given the council, that someone on the council is saying, hey, they may close these schools. What are we going to do with them? I mean, because you're right, Tom. You're looking at Kramer. It's been there for 20 years.
Yeah.
And the rumor was for 19 and a half of those years that don't worry about it. The state's taking the building. And now I understand the state sent us a memo that says, no, we're not taking the building. We don't want it. So.
Yeah, nobody can come down with an answer on that. I had Tom and Bill on it, and I don't think anybody knows where that's at this particular point.
Well, as I said, the last thing I heard was the town has received a letter from the state saying we're not going to take the building. But again, that's something that hasn't come out publicly.
Yeah, but
so
you got again. You've got Sweeney School. You've got North Wyndham School, Natchog School. Okay, Wyndham Center.
Yep.
Which one? Am I missing one?
Nope, those are the 4 grade schools. Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, I truly believe that the idea of going to one school, the declining population, and again, it's not that people are moving out or moving in. We're not having the kids that we used to
Correct,
have.
right.
Okay, every town's got this issue. I think building one school makes sense. You can hopefully cut down some of the cost that's if you're closing 4 schools and moving people into one, you should be able to save some money just in that alone. But I don't want to see the town doing things with all those properties because then what in the long run it's cost me more. I'd rather see them sell the properties off, developers or whatever, because North Wyndham's got a piece there. Whether you tear the building down or not, there's still prime land there.
Right.
Wyndham Center, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, out in the Wyndhams, they're all talking about, whether or not to build another fire department and move it. I mean, Wyndham Center School would be a perfect area for that at some point. But I think the forefathers, when you sit there and you start talking about to build another school, they better have an answer off of what they're doing with the other pieces of land.
Yeah.
That's why I said I would hope that someone on the council is, as I say, we've done presentations for several years. You would hope that someone on the council is starting to look at that, the foresight of saying, if in fact the school system does agree to, what will we do with these buildings? Because that's a big question.
You keep saying the council, but it's right now you're using the buildings, right? The Board of Ed uses these buildings. They're impacting families and a lot of different employment and everything else. If there's a plan to close all 4, which I don't disagree, one new big one and put them all in there and cut down to the scale of economy, right? But the reality of it is, you should have some kind of they're not your buildings in the end, but they want people want the full story and not getting, well, we're just going to do that and then hope the town. You guys need to work in unison and say, and so the plan for Wyndham Center School is this. We'd like to sell, we'll use it for the fire department. The North Wyndham School, the Natchog School, and Sweeney, we want to sell off and have a plan. Don't say that, well, the town council, we hope we'll have something. That's, to me, is what the problem is with this community. There's never the full story. You're waiting for the other leg to drop.
Yeah, I mean, you take Sweeney School. Would the plan be from the town that they don't want to sell it off and have apartments or have houses that are put over there because the middle school's there, that it gives them more room if they have to grow? I mean, but tell us what you're doing.
What's the whole story?
And I'm not putting that on the Board
Right.
of Education
I'm
because
putting it on Doyle.
I believe that that's directly coming from the town managers and through the town council.
Exactly.
They should be looking at
Yeah.
this, especially if they're going to back the plan that you guys are going to come out with. And again, you're right, Mark. This isn't new. This stuff has been talked about even when I was back on the Board of Finance.
The Board of Finance has been asking us to look at and do something of this back when you
Yeah.
were on the Board of Finance. So this is not new. It's been talked about for a while. So I have to agree with Ken. When we leave the buildings, I can't tell the town what to do with the building.
No, but that conversation has to happen now, not after the fact. After
Right.
we've already voted to build this
Right.
new big
Well,
school, shutter the other ones.
We've
Needs
gone to
happen
the
before. So
we've
when
gone
you're
to those
voting,
boards. We've gone to those meetings.
you-
We need them to pick up the ball now.
You talk about not knowing what the tax increases is going to be because no one was fully transparent. This is another one that could be not fully transparent, is what I'm getting at, Mark. I'm not pointing the finger to you or the town council, but if you work together, you should have. Here's part A.
I'm going
B,
to tell
and
you
C.
right now, if it's me as a taxpayer voting on the issue,
no one telling
and they
the whole
don't have a
story.
clear issue of what they're doing with the other properties, and it doesn't look like it's cutting taxes for me, then I might not be voting for this project.
Yeah, we understand.
Okay,
Yeah.
and but I honestly believe that this is this is the most honest way of looking at how we're spending our tax money and everything else. This is a good avenue to go down and look at and see if it's the best avenue for us. The people that I've seen on Facebook that are complaining because Wyndham Center, I said this before, I get the kingdom stuff.
It's an emotional attachment.
It's an emotional thing. You've got kids, they might have graduated through there. I mean, their kids are going through, or they want their grandchildren to go through. But those are the same people, some of them that I see the names, that for years have continually voted against some budgets because the taxes are too high. And here's a responsible thing that I think the Board of Education is looking at, to try to put the kids in one area, what makes sense. It's administrative cost. There's a lot of areas you could save money if it's done right.
Correct.
Okay? The one piece that I don't want to ever hear is that we're promising people that we're going to keep all their jobs. You can't do that in this type of a thing. If a job opens up because somebody retired, yes, you fill. But you can't sit there and say we're going to pull every administrator, every teacher, every secretary, every KitchenAid person, every custodian over
Right.
to the school. You don't need all of those workers in that one spot.
Right.
You don't need all the administrators.
Right, we're already looking at through attrition that some of those positions we won't have to we won't be looking at layoffs because you're right, through attrition we can not rehire a person and bring them back. The plan, though, just so we're clear, when we do close Wyndham Center, the plan would be to move the classrooms intact. So if your second grade classroom with Mrs. Smith and you're worried about losing that teacher in that classroom and your friends, they would move to another school, for instance, North Wyndham, but the classroom would move intact. So
The whole classroom.
We're not going to scatter the kids to the wind and they have to be lost in the new school. The classroom with the teacher will move over to North Wyndham and to keep them together. And the other thing we're looking at is, again, because of the difference in enrollment, like Wyndham Center being down just under 200, and I think North Wyndham's closer to 400 or 500, you're looking at, we can't necessarily balance the classes as well as we should. So now we'll have a class of 18 students in one school and a class of 24 students in another school. And you really can't balance that because you can't talk about transporting them
Yeah,
between schools. But we put both.
I know there's an argument both ways about that, but when we went to school, you're younger than me, but when I went to school, I had kids of 25.
Oh, yeah. Well,
28.
you may
You're
still
younger
have.
than them. Things are that
Yeah,
different.
You may still have that,
have another.
but we're looking at the fact that a second grade classroom in North Wyndham and a second grade classroom in Wyndham Center, I shouldn't have a huge difference in the number of kids in the classroom. So that if we have them both in the building, I can now balance it. So they'll have two classes of 20 kids as opposed to
So what
difference is.
my thinking is that the Board of Education, through this process as they're doing, should probably have a meeting out in the Wyndhams, especially Wyndham Center people at this point, not just a board meeting, just a meeting to put out what you guys are doing.
The superintendent I went to the meeting at Sweeney. The superintendent set up and has had meetings at all 4 grade schools talking about the closing of the 5th grade.
But it wasn't those meetings for the parents that are there now.
Correct.
I'm
It was-
talking about the taxpayers that maybe don't have kids there. Granted, they want to know what's going on.
We
'cause
will
they're
do that.
going to make
Well,
this
maybe, why don't they
difference.
just be part of the agenda on the first taxing district meeting?
Well, as I said, the meeting I have to go to right after this is the planning committee now as to, what the whole process of closing the 3 schools and moving into one school. And we're putting together a whole planning process so that we know the cost of the building, the cost of the land, the moving the kids. And when we get to that point, obviously before the referendum vote, we're going to have to be out there in the Wyndhams and
Do you
and
know
selling
if
the
we
whole
have
proposal.
any one of the schools have enough land to actually build?
Yes, we have. We did that. But with us in the town, they've gone through that study.
Okay.
North Wyndham, you have wetlands behind it, so you have no
Yep.
space there.
Pretty much
Natchog, as
Wyndham
you know-
Center is pretty much
Natchog
landlocked.
is landlocked. Wyndham Center's landlocked, and the other one was Sweeney, and we looked at putting it on Sweeney, but in order to the footprint of that one building won't fit on the Sweeney footprint when you add in all the parking and everything else
Right.
you're going to need. So yeah, that was one of the first things we looked at, and we also have done some preliminary looking at properties that might be suitable. But that's all part of the planning.
Yeah, the only
process.
reason why I bring that up, Mark, is because when they were looking at Wyndham Tech to try
Right.
to try to put it out in the Wyndhams or somewhere, there was nothing. That's what came back pretty much. There was problems in some places where you had the land, but in order to get the sewer, the water out there, it just didn't fit. So that's why they haven't done nothing with that school at this point. I just
Now, the last thing I heard,
where would we go at this particular point, unless you're buying up houses in order to put the school in?
we have not actually committed to a site, but the site we're looking for, one of our criteria is city water and city sewer because we
Yeah.
don't want to go to that expense. That was an issue when we built the
Barrows.
magnet school, the Barrow
Yeah.
School. We had to bring out the water across from behind. So we're looking at that. That's another consideration is to make sure we have those facilities available. Last thing I heard, there was the tech was going to move into the old school up in next to E.O. Smith. The old
That hasn't happened.
Hatfield
I mean, that's still a fight going on between, I guess, state reps and stuff.
okay.
So as far as I knew when I left, that hadn't been etched in stone yet.
All right.
You
Well,
know, I mean, that's a piece of property there
Yeah.
that Eastern would bite up in
Oh,
a
yeah.
heartbeat.
That's my understanding is they
I
want
mean,
it, yeah.
You know, that besides taking Kramer out of it, that one they would take in a heartbeat.
Right.
But that school needs that's another one. It's one of the last tech schools that has to be redone, and again, it's too small there where they're at. And I know that Sue Johnson and them have looked all around Wyndham to put that school, and my understanding is there hasn't been anything that they found at this point.
Okay. Well, we'll find out.
Yep.
I've got to split to my other meeting, guys.
Okay, well, have fun there.
Yep. You just have my check forwarded to my house for the appearance. I need to pay my taxes.
Okay, no problem.
Donuts
I-
and coffee
I-
on you
know,
on Friday, my friend.
Because of the ratings that you brought up today, I'll make
thank
sure
you.
that's a double of what I was originally
And
going to
remember-
get
double
you.
my pay.
And remember, buddy, CNC. You look out your window and there's some action happening.
Yeah, there you go.
We get it done.
And where's Buddy now?
He's tired.
He's sleeping?
He's exhausted.
All right, gentlemen.
All right, good luck. So you've heard it from the man. They're going to look at building another school. Have to buy another piece of land out there. That's the part that's scary for me because I really don't know where they would be able to go.
See, Mark's goal now on the Board of Education is to top the dollars that I've spent in my time on that board. He's getting there. But see, I'm on that building committee, which is $112 million. So add that with all the other budgets I put through. He could build another couple schools, and I got him beat. I'm the biggest spender in Wyndham.
There you go. There you go. I thought it was Tom DeVivo, but it's you.
Hey, listen, Tom's on the right track. Thank God Dawn and Billy Sayers are hanging around trying to level the playing field with the spending.
I think it's time for some new blood all the way around in some of these cases. A lot of these people have worked very hard, and I know they're passionate about this stuff, but I think it's coming.
There's burnout.
It's coming to a time. It ain't just burnout.
It is.
I think it's
burnout. Their
time to get
ideas
the
are
younger people and get them involved.
Well-
I don't know how you're going to do that because I think people with politics, everybody's way down.
Well, there was a
on that
question
issue.
about is the circus coming to town? You know, but circuses are down because all the clowns have gone to work in Washington. Here we go.
I thought they were on the Trump campaign. I thought he hired them all.
Did Joe
That's all
do that? Oh, he
that's
doesn't
all
remember.
That's all he could afford.
Don't worry, the Cheeto Man's around. He's gonna next Thursday, big MAGA party at the house.
So
gonna watch that debate.
I hear there's a big primaries coming up in August, which is going to cost towns money.
Well, isn't that
let's see.
democracy though? Is that
It
okay?
is.
You
We
budget,
have.
budget.
Yeah, it's not just that. There's
Okay,
a Democratic primary coming. There's a
Good.
Republican primary.
Good.
I believe not the register of voters.
Judge of
Sorry,
probate?
Judge of probate. There's going
Yeah.
to be one on the Democratic side, and then I believe there's going to be one on the Senate side, the Republican side, to see who will go up against May Flexer.
Yeah,
That's my understanding
That'll be
as of
quite a
today.
race. Chris Reddy, right? And Susan.
You know what I
can't remember
don't
the last
get
name.
though? The amount of people that you're going to have to come out and vote will be about the same you did for the budgets.
Yeah,
okay.
okay,
and
but
you
the budget
gotta
passed
open,
that way.
And you got to open
Yeah. Yes, you do.
every polling place
It's
for
as,
something like that.
it's as bad as the early voting scheme.
Well, yeah,
It is.
Do you know?
10 people show up to vote over a 4-day period?
And those
What's the
people
point?
make more money than you by the end, but
Yeah,
you figured then you
that's
register
okay.
of voters.
It's the new democracy.
But the state's giving us money towards that, aren't
Well,
they?
who's
10
the
grand?
state?
10 grand?
Who's the state, Tom?
That's your pocket.
Oh, it's my right pocket. I love when they say it's the state.
10 grand everybody got from every town. Didn't matter how big you were or how small you were.
Change is
you got
coming,
10
my
grand.
friend. Change is coming.
Oh,
It's
the change is coming.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it,
Pocket
but
change.
it's probably in 2 years, not this year.
pocket change, my friend.
All right. Hey, everybody, again, come on down at Third Thursday down here. Have a good weekend. Make sure everybody stays cool. Keep your pets inside.